Hey everybody, I'm Travis Marshall and welcome to another edition of Lunch Punch brought to you by the newly updated GrilledChristian.com. Yes, Lunch Punch is your spiritual shot of adrenaline to help you begin or even to help you get through your work week. And today I want to talk to you about something that's a little bit pointed, a little bit tricky to deal with. And it's this, it's when you have to leave people behind so that you can grow. Let's go ahead and jump into 1 Samuel chapter 30. We're still there. I want to encourage you to do two things. One, I want you to go ahead and read all of 1 Samuel chapter 30 on your own time. It's a great chapter if you're trying to grow in life and sometimes you're feeling alone and those sort of things. And then also I want to encourage you to listen to our previous two episodes of Lunch Punch as we're still in this chapter. So we actually went from verse 6 to 8. Today, we're in verse 10, and just to give a quick synopsis of what's happened, we learned that while David had his back turned, his first thing that happened when David had his back turned, his enemies burned down all that he had worked hard for, and now his friends were turning their backs on him. David did two things remarkably right in this situation where sometimes we go the other direction. He did this first. He encouraged himself in the Lord, and then he inquired of the Lord. We need to learn to do this as a prerequisite, as a before to what God tells David in verse 8 at the end, where God tells him to pursue, to overtake, and to rescue. But before you can do those three things, you have to encourage and inquire of the Lord. And this brings us to today's session in verse 10, where we are told this: David pursued. He and 400 men. Now listen to them. There's going to be something fuzzy with the math here. He and 400 men. Then the next part says 200 stayed behind who were too exhausted to cross. So I want to go ahead and unpack a couple of things I see in verse 10. And again, remember, this is after David, after encouraging himself in and inquiring of the Lord, David finally got the go-ahead to pursue, overtake, and to rescue. So he fearlessly pursued. But I want you to catch something in this verse. I want you to catch something. Some of the people who were with him stayed behind. Remember, it said 400, and then 200 stayed behind. And they did this because they were too exhausted. Now, the lesson here is a tricky one, I think. Why? Because some people aren't going to make it to the next leg of your journey with you. Some people won't have the energy or the passion or the strength to do what you feel, to pursue what you've felt called to pursue, to overtake in the areas that you've been called to overtake, and to rescue those that you've been called to rescue. I want to encourage you something. Don't hate them for that. Don't be angry with them for that. I'm not talking about the naysayers. I'm not talking about those who said you couldn't do those things. We're talking about the type of people who are with you, but because of their personal hopelessness and their personal issues, they doubt the mission because they doubt themselves. And I want you to catch that. So my challenge to you is, can you go on like David? Can you go on without them, without hating them? Can you go on without the people that you've called friends for so long? Can you go a season without them, without hating them, because maybe they don't have the pursuit, the power to pursue, and the strength to overtake and rescue in the same way that you do for this season? Can you do that without hating them? Can you imagine, listen to this, maybe, and just can you imagine that they're drawing on your strength, that they're drawing on your passion, that they're drawing on your energy so that they can overcome their own personal obstacles? Listen, here's the lesson of this. If you can push, and sometimes you're going to have to do it alone, but if you can push on towards something after encouraging yourself and inquiring of the Lord, you have something very special, my friend. You have something very special. Again, I want to say thank you all so much for sharing, liking, and commenting on this video post and many others like it. Again, I encourage you to like our Facebook fan page, to go to our YouTube archives of Lunch Punch, to look at our newly updated GrilledChristian.com site. And again, I want to remind you to crush it for the King this week and whatever He's given you to be able to do. This has been Lunch Punch, brought to you by GrilledChristian.com, where we always want to help you be able to do three things. That's know, lead, and defend your worldview. God bless.